Hello, and welcome to our Labelexpo Americas Technology Preview webinar. My name is Chelsea McDougall. I'm the editor of Labels and Labeling magazine. I'm joined today by Andy Thomas-Emans, who is the strategic director for Labelexpo. And a big thanks to Flint Group for sponsoring today's webinar. So just a few little housekeeping matters before we begin. Today, Andy and I are going to talk about some of the key trends that we're seeing emerging at Labelexpo Americas coming up this fall, September 10th to 12th in Rosemont. But we're going to take some questions at the end. So on your control panel, you will see a little drop-down menu for questions. That's where you can put that. And Andy and I, if you want to say hi to either one of us or put in some questions, we'll handle those both at the end. So thank you for joining us. And here we go. So Labels and Labeling is working on our Labelexpo preview for the event this fall, and the team has been diligently putting together a really comprehensive preview. And I first wanted to start by showing the team that's going to be on site at Labelexpo. So starting with myself at the top right, making our way clockwise, there's Akansha, Piat, Andy, who's also with us today, and Yolanda, who's going to be covering our Chinese exhibitors at Labelexpo Americas. So this is the team, the editorial team that's going to be on site. So if you want to grab any of us to have a coffee, shake our hand, grab have some questions, whatever it is, this is your team that's going to be on site. This is the team that's also been really working hard on the Labelexpo preview. That really forms the basis of what we're going to talk about today. So starting, the headline news here is that Flexo is returning. So after absences in 2022 at Labelexpo, Flexo is going to be making a big return, and there's leading companies showcasing the latest Flexo equipment, both as standalone presses and in hybrid inkjet configurations. So one of the things our team really noticed in compiling this annual Labelexpo preview is that in many ways, Labelexpo is transforming into a mid-web show. So previously that 13, 17-inch press widths were that sweet spot for label converters, but now that marker has moved, and we're talking 23 to 26 inches is now kind of the name of the game. So we first saw growing interest in mid-web Flexo at Labelexpo Europe last year, and the wider width of these machines really allows converters to print larger format packaging products like flexible packaging, in-mold labels, and shrink sleeves. And even some converters are even using mid-web presses to print multiple lanes of self-adhesive labels roll to roll, and then slitting and finishing offline. So notably, both Mark Andy and Neil Peter are showing 26-inch wide presses for the first time in the US. So Mark Andy is using Labelexpo Americas to launch its new P-Series S9 Flexo press for label and flex pack markets. And Neil Peter is bringing its FA26 to debut in North America after a successful launch at Labelexpo in Brussels last year. Mark Andy is also bringing 4 additional printing presses, including its hybrid and standalone digital technology. And Neil Peter is also going to be showing its FB line that's available in 14 and 17-inch versions. Chinese manufacturer Hantech is bringing its Flexicon servo-driven press that's available in 13, 17, and 22-inch widths and can support cold foil, delam, relam, and lamination capabilities. Also on this, Omet has an interesting hybrid launch with Durst, and you'll also see hybrid machinery from Bops, but I'm going to let Andy dig into that later on. But next, I want to talk about flexible packaging. This is a huge trend that we're seeing this year. And just a little bit to set the scene, the US flexible packaging market is currently valued at about $63 billion and is expected to grow 4% each year through 2030. So a lot of that growth is really attributed to an increasing demand for short-run sustainable packaging solutions compared to rigid containers, and also that rise in challenger brands and startups, along with a consumer preference for attractive packaging. But short runs are also disrupting the flexible packaging industry in the same way it had with labels. Previously, the easiest way of entry for flexible packaging was through digital printing, and until recently, HB Indigo with its mid-web digital presses really cornered that market. But now we're seeing other flexo suppliers getting in on the game with their mid-web flexo, and we're also seeing a rise in water-based inkjet for food-safe packaging. So Labelexpo event organizers, they're responding to this trend of wider equipment with a flex pack area, the show floor. So think of it kind of like a show within a show. And for the first time ever, label converters are going to be able to see that downstream flexible packaging production equipment at a Labelexpo. So it's going to be a dedicated area of the show, as I said, called Flex Pack at Labelexpo. And in that area, you're going to see technology for thermal lamination, slitting, coating, and pouching, all for Flex Pack. There's also going to be material suppliers and, interestingly, seaming equipment for shrink sleeves. So again, it's kind of targeting that mid-web equipment. Elsewhere on the show floor, you're going to see those wider machines printing the flexible packaging, but in the Flex Pack area is where you're going to see downstream. So as I already explained, Neil Peter and Mark Handy are bringing mid-web machinery, but HP is also bringing its 200K to the US for the first time, showing digital Flex Pack printing. On the seaming equipment that I mentioned will be AB Graphic. You're going to see laminating equipment from Gondorflex and Cellcoat. Carlville is going to be showing pouching converting. And companies like Bonset, Novaflex, Nobelis, S1LP are going to be showing materials for label converters getting into FlexPack. And then there's SandZip showing its reclosable zipper. So a lot of these are new materials and things that a label converter might not be used to working with. And you can really see and touch and feel and learn up close these materials, this equipment. So attendees are also going to have the chance to attend a short introduction into flexible packaging that's going to be presented by HP. They're doing that 3 times a day during the show. But if you wanted to take a deeper dive into flexible packaging, the Label Academy is going to be hosting a masterclass that takes place on Tuesday, September 10th. This is going to be led by FlexPack experts and will cover everything a label converter needs to know for entering that market. Additionally, a shrink sleeve label masterclass will be on Thursday, September 12th. Next up, we have Andy talking about digital.
Thank you, Chelsea. Yes, so if you look at the key trends in digital technology that we're going to see at Labelexpo Americas, so there's going to be if you look at the standalone digital presses first of all. So these are the machines that where the converting is offline currently. So we're going to see the North American launch of Canon's first water-based digital press, which is the LabelStream LS2000. This machine prints at 40 meters a minute in CMYK and white with 2400 by 1200 DPI print heads. And this is really kind of aimed at those kind of food safe label applications. This machine was launched at Drupa, so this is the first time that that anybody will get a chance to see it outside Drupa. HP, as Chelsea said, is demonstrating for the first time the 200K in the US. This press, what's interesting, it'll have for the first time an inline slitter. So the press is already obviously tooled up for doing shrink sleeves and flexible packaging, but if you have a inline slitter, then this also opens up the press to self-adhesive applications. Again, as Chelsea said, this is sitting on the press and then finishing those rolls offline. HP Indigo is also going to demonstrate its kind of well-established 6K press along with a range of associated software. Domino is showing its latest 7-color N730i digital press technology. It uses the 1200 by 1200 DPI bit start inkjet heads from its parent company, Brother Corporation, Japan. Konica Minolta is going to be demonstrating its full range of digital label equipment, which is headed up by the Curio Label 400, which adds a 5th white station to the CMYK. Alongside the established Curio Label 230 digital press, which is sold around about well over 1,000 machines worldwide, more on the kind of entry level side. So if you look at these, Chelsea was saying another key trend is the hybrid trend we've been seeing for some years. So again, we're going to have the first chance for converters in North America to see the Omet Durst hybrid press. So this press was launched at Drupa. It's based around the Omet K-Flex digital, the Omet K-Flex conventional press platform. So the digital element of it is going to be the Durst RSCI print engine, 7-color print engine. So you can integrate this in any way. It's a fully modular platform based upon the Omet K-Flex. On the domino stand, Mark Andy is going to have a Pro Series flexo press integrated with a domino K600i dual UV inkjet print bar. So the print bar is, it's another way of effectively hybridizing a flexo press, giving it the capability effectively of having a kind of a digital black plate or ability to print, for example, a varnish or a screen white. Another interesting demonstration from Mark Andy is going to be those of you who have been in the industry for some time will remember the venerable 2200 platform. So Mark Andy will have a 2200 press integrated with a Domino IQR digital engine, which is based around Domino's established 7-color N610i technology. Mark Andy is also going to have its digital series HD hybrid press at the show. Bob's has also gone down the hybrid route. Bob's called this the all-in-one press, and it's going to have a digital master 340 at the show. So it's featuring integrated control of both the digital and conventional print and finishing modules from a single interface. Heidelberg and Gallus. So this is interesting. Gallus announced at Drupa. So this will be the first time to talk to Gallus about this outside of Drupa. The Gallus One standalone digital press is now, Gallus calls it a system to compose, but it's basically based on the Label Master Flexo press platform. So in the same way that the Durst Omet hybrid press is based upon the Omet K-Flex Flexo press, the Gallus One is based upon the Label Master platform, which essentially means that you can have any combination of Label Master units in line with the Gallus One. And conversely, if you already have a Label Master press, you can retrofit the Gallus One digital engine to retrofit that into a fully hybridized press line. And to support this, Gallus has also announced that the Gallus One will be available also in a 430 millimeter 17-inch frame to go alongside the current 340 millimeter 13-inch. So that brings it into line with the formats of the Label Master press. So at the same time as talked about the print bars earlier on, and that's also going to be quite a theme of the show. So the ability to add digital embellishment and digital print, and not only to flexo presses, but also to finishing equipment. So we're going to see, for example, JetFX demonstrating digital embellishment, cold foiling, and tactile finishing on a thermal laminator machine. So decorating the lamination that's going to form the flexible pack. Fujifilm is also going to be showing its 46 UV print bar system for labeling printing, and also digital print ink DPI is also showing a 13-inch wide print bar. So it's going to be kind of quite a key theme of this show. And just finally, if you look at what's happening on the digital presses, are also getting inline capabilities. So it basically means you take a digital press and you have the ability to add in a modular way, effectively flexo or conventional converter units onto that inline press. So you'll see this with the Dantex Picojet 1200, which has the ability to add flexo, die cut, cold foil, lamination, edge trim, back scoring, rotary or shear slitting. Chinese manufacturer Flora A350, again, inline flexo, cold foiling, varnishing. Pelusi, also from China, bringing its DPIM 330F press, again with the ability to add these conventional modules. With Mark Andy bringing along its Digital Pro Max, which integrates the toner-based imaging with semi-rotary die cutting. It's a similar principle. If you add to that, just finally, that there are going to be quite a few smaller, what we call kind of benchtop type all-in-one digital systems, which are printing, cutting, and applying. So all in all, this is going to be extremely interesting Label Expo for the digital print technology. Thanks, Chelsea. Okay, so now we're going to look at RFID. The reason that this is going to be a really significant show for RFID is because of the Walmart mandate. So effectively, if you look at the history of Walmart and RFID, so back in 2020, Walmart first trialed RFID tags across its apparel and jewelry ranges. So each tag contains unique identifiers, essential information about the product, describes the product, what the price is, the store location, and other tracking information. So once that was a success, the company found it could identify and restock products more quickly, reduce instances of empty shelves, and reducing excess inventory. So the result, Walmart and its suppliers have better visibility into the movement of products, facilitating a faster response across the supply chain. So in 2022, Walmart announced extension of its RFID mandate to wider categories of products. It includes now toys, home goods, electronics, and sporting goods. Now these have to be individually outfitted with UHF RFID tags. It's the responsibility of the supplier to program these chips. So it won't happen at the Walmart end. They need to be pre-programmed before they hit the Walmart ecosystem, the Walmart supply chain. So the information which will have to contain will be up-to-date data related to each product. Suppliers are going to be required to use UHF RFID inlays that have Walmart approved certification, which is the ARC certification. So what does it mean? It means the converters and the brand owner customers can have to determine how to implement a robust RFID system that will comply with Walmart standards. In order to comply, suppliers are going to need to understand a wide range of factors. What type of inlay is approved for use, where to source RFID tags and labels, what equipment and software is required to encode the tags properly, and how RFID labels will be attached in practice to each individual item. It could be a tag, or it could be with a self-adhesive label. Now, what's interesting is that obviously the bigger brands, multinationals, will have this knowledge in-house, but the smaller brands, challenger brands, which are such an important part of our market at the moment, they will be looking to you, the label converter, to understand what's happening here and to provide a consultancy on how they're going to comply with the Walmart mandate. It's not only Walmart. If we look at where our RFID is going, so Amazon has its just walkout stores, which first opened in 2018. And today are present in franchises across North America, the UK, and Australia, with plans to expand that footprint. Now, this first generation of stores is basically where you're walking in and there's no checkout. You're just taking your product off the shelf and you're walking out with it. At the moment, these stores are camera-based, so it's facial recognition based. But the drawback with those is that it has to be in a bag and it has to be in a fixed position on the shelf. If you look at the apparel market, for example, where you want to take things off and try them and put them back, you're going to need RFID. Each individual item is going to need to be RFID tagged. So that's the next stage of Amazon's project, working with Avery Dennison to combine the vision systems with RFID technology. And the first retail rollout of this program as a test case has been at multiple concessions at NFL Seattle Seahawks at Lumen Field Stadium. They're already reporting a doubling of sales because people can walk in, try on a hat or try on a garment or a sweatshirt, and they can just walk out wearing it. As well as the retail applications, we're also seeing a big uptick in, say, in the what we call the industrial labeling market. So if you look at, for example, what's happening in the automotive sector, RFID is finding increasing uses of number of use cases for product identification, for tracking. So everything from car tires to automatically identifying the authenticity of car parts, and keeping a service history record for an individual part within an engine. And I know this doesn't directly impact North American converters apart from you who export to the EU, but it's an example of the way things are moving. So the EU has just adopted, it's called the Digital Product Passport regulation, and combined with the Circular Economy Directive, which says packaging has to move around the loop and come back as a raw material into that same product category. So this means that every product will need to have a digital twin in the cloud, which all this information will be stored, as well as information on carbon footprint, ingredients, and track and trace information. And this will be accessed either by a QR code or by an RFID chip. So this really looks like an unstoppable train at the moment. And it's really why this is going to be such a key Label Expo, to find out about how to implement in practice this RFID technology. If you want a deeper dive, there's a half-day Label Academy workshop on RFID in labels and package printing, sponsored by Avery Dennison. That's be looking again in depth at the end user mandates, a comprehensive review of the RFID technology, equipment required to convert, test and encode RFID labels and tags, sessions on securing cybersecurity on RFID networks, very important, and understanding how electronic product codes, individual product codes, are going to be implemented within the RFID system. There's also going to be a RFID trail at the show, so you'll be able to find specific companies who are offering equipment or materials or technology. So just going to go through briefly a few of those companies. Voyantic, for example, is going to be demonstrating its turnkey quality control and testing equipment for RFID tag and label production. GIC, demonstrating a range of RFID tag and label encoding and inspection systems. Tamarack, which has been involved in this market for a long time. What Tamarack does is it adds to flexo presses the ability in line to convert RFID labels and tags. Delta Modtech, showing single pass RFID processing, encoding and inspection. Kirk Rudy, supplying high-speed encoding in printing lines for hang tags, primarily used in the garment industry. Muhlbauer and Meltzer have been in this market for a long time with self-contained RFID production and testing. And finally, Rewind inspection machine specialist Rosat Maschinenbau recently launched its own RFID label converting system. All of the world's leading RFID inlay suppliers will be at the show. Avery Dennison, Federagoni Group, UPM Raflatac, 3M, BeyondTag, Checkpoint Systems, and HANA Technology. And from China comes the RFID tag and label specialist NextQuo, which provides one-stop RFID and NFC solutions for applications, particularly in the hospitality and warehouse sectors. So if you need to find out about RFID, about how to meet these mandates, about the future opportunities, and how to implement an RFID system in practice, you need to come to Labelexpo Americas 2024. Thanks, Chelsea.
Great. Thanks, Sandy. Yeah, RFID is definitely something that we hear a lot from the label converters that we're speaking to, writing stories about. So it'll be interesting to see that technology at the show. Another thing we hear a lot about is sustainability. Back by popular demand, TLMI's Eco Stage is going to be back again this year, and they're working on setting up some conference sessions that are dedicated to tackling the myths surrounding sustainability. So there's going to be sessions from leading experts. They've got the Sustainable Green Printing Partnership, Association of Plastic Recyclers, as well as label converters and label industry suppliers that are really leading the charge on industry-wide sustainability. So those sessions that TLMI is organizing will offer some key takeaways on what to do with your label liner and your matrix. They're going to explore PFAS and also designing for recyclability. So that's going to be really interesting. That is on the show floor throughout Labelexpo. And once again, Convergent Energy is going to be collecting the label waste generated at the show. So this is going to be for Labelexpo demo byproducts that normally would end up in landfill are going to now be collected and converted into fuel. In kind of a similar vein too, UPM Raflatac is again talking about their RafCycle partner program that enables converters to offer their customers label release liner collection and recycling services. So those are just some of the things that you'll see on the show floor. But when it comes to suppliers and sustainability, it's many ways table stakes at this point. But it's so important as brands and consumers alike are looking for sustainable options for their packaging. Many are making moves as part of a broader effort to kind of minimize waste and improve the recyclability of labels and labeling byproducts. So at the show, many label industry suppliers are going to be showcasing their eco-friendly materials, such as recycled paper, biodegradable, PCR plastics, or label materials made with natural, or natural plastic alternatives. That are all things you're going to see at the show. So materials like UPM Raflatac's Forest Film, which is a wood-based plastic face material. Also, it's Ocean Action, which won a Global Label Award. That's designed to combat ocean-bound plastics. Flexcon and Klockner are two other material companies that are going to be talking about PCR label and PCR and their label or shrink materials. Another thing we're seeing is sustainable inks and adhesives. It's a clear trend that's been emerging in recent years. So suppliers like Avery Dennison, Fedrigoni, Beyond Tag, HB Fuller, they're all offering label adhesives that are removable or those that wash off in that recycling stream that facilitate that clean separation during recycling, and then therefore it doesn't contaminate the recyclate. And also our webinar, today's webinar sponsor, Flint Group, they're going to be using Labelexpo to showcase their Evolution de-inking primer, which also won a Global Label Award. And it's de-inking primer and caustic resistant OPV, which are both said to improve material yield during PET bottle recycling. And they're products that are designed to increase the amount of material that can be reclaimed and increasing the availability of recycled material. So we're also seeing a growth here in linerless labels that will be reflected on the show floor from the likes of companies Beyond Tag, HB Fuller, and others. But in terms of hardware, advances in technology and implementing lean manufacturing processes that minimize the amount of waste in the production process, therefore eliminating the amount of labeled byproduct that ends up in landfill, is going to be another clear trend that we're seeing from our hardware and technology suppliers. And we really expect label converters to be taking a close look at this year. Also, another thing label converters are doing is using energy efficient technology like LED curing to reduce the impact of their energy consumption. So again, all trends that you're going to be seeing on the show floor. And to end on one interesting one that I really love comes from our friends at Digimark. They're the creator of that invisible watermarking technology. It's already been deployed at recycling sorting centers who use it to identify the watermarked items based on their composition and ensuring that the watermarked items end up in the correct waste stream based on their composition. All of this leads to more intelligent and accurate sorting. So Digimark's going to be talking about that at the show. They'll be able to explain that probably a little better than I can, but that's a really interesting technology, and I think one that shows the creativity that's involved in the label industry. And really just overall, the label industry is committed to sustainability, and it's reflected on the Labelexpo show floor. You'll see the adoption of greener materials, innovative technology, and those collaborative efforts like TLMI's EcoStage that really are creating a more sustainable label industry overall. Back to you, Andy.
Thanks, Chelsea. So this is another key theme of Labelexpo Americas 2024 will be automation, and alongside automation, I'd also mention AI, which is a big buzzword of the day, and that's going to be really a lot of suppliers are going to be talking about AI as well as at the same time to talk about automation. So by automation, you know, you can look at automation of machinery, of conventional machinery. You can also look at digitization of conventional processes. You can look at the integration of conventional equipment into digital networks. At the same time, you can look at the automation of processes within a production plant. And one thing that AI will probably start to do is to tie all those processes together into a seamless workflow. If you look at where we are with automation today, and so if you look, for example, ABG is bringing its ABG Connect automation system to Labelexpo, and I recently covered a company in the UK, Mercy and Labels, that has implemented this system. So what's kind of interesting is that we're automating a standard converting line, a standard conventional converting line, but we're enabling it to take digital instructions via an MIS printed on a digital press. So what we see is a new layer at the label converter, which is basically programming JDF data. So it's taking the information from estimating, it's taking what would have been the old job bag, it's looking at the imposition, it's then programming that machine offline. That information is then being taken by the MIS, it's being taken to the digital press at the head of each job. The digital press is printing a barcode. So when that barcode hits the converting line, it's then automating processes. You might think about it almost like the player pianos, where they had all the holes and on the roll that tells the piano what to play. So, for example, the kind of things that you're automating are coating on and off, or if you have a matte and a gloss varnishing station, which of those is going to go into impression, which is off. Or, for example, we're bringing the image of the job up onto the inspection screen, which helps you to fit the information that helps you to fit a die accurately. Setting of the knives, of the setting knives, all these processes which can now be automated, but it needs a different level of programming at the converter. Company like Graphotronic, that's going to be showing its automated camera inspection system on converting units. So basically, we're looking at controlling analog processes, camera controlling them. So that's, if you look at the die cutting, look at the varnishing, and look at the slitting stations now being monitored and controlled by camera units, which are able to tell us if there are any errors or if we're within specification on the converting side, which then means the job can go on to a turret rewind, providing that the print has also been checked. It can then go straight off into stock using the MIS system to print the closing label on that roll. So these are kind of examples of what we can really achieve today, can really help to boost the productivity of the label converting business. Then if we look at the kind of board line, if you look at what Bob's is doing, for example, if you look at vision systems is really kind of where a lot of progress is being made in automation. A lot more progress will be made in AI, with these systems learning what's good and what's bad print, and then making suggestions as to why a mistake has happened, and taking that back through the chain. So Bob's, for example, has its AccuCheck system, which is taken from its wide web equipment and put onto its all-in-one press, digital press. So you'll be able to see that at the show. It's automated quality inspection system. And if you look at what's happening on the Durst, spoke about the RSCI line now. So the Durst Hawkeye system, which is automatically by artificial intelligence controlling color management on the inkjet nozzles and compensation, nozzle compensation and such like. So the company just renamed that from Hawkeye to Hawk AI. So it kind of shows you kind of where we're moving. Another aspect of automation is the full automation of the converting process by replacing analog converting stations with mainly with inkjet units, in some cases with laser die cutting. So with the inkjet unit, we're laying down a varnish, some cases a tactile varnish, which can also be a spot varnish, variable spot varnish. We're looking at the application of cold foil adhesives. We're looking at various forms of digital metallization. 2 or 3 suppliers will have those at the show. So, for example, Kurtz has an interesting technology there. And also the Actega EcoLeaf, very interesting digital metallization technology. And then laser die cutting has been an interesting one. It's been with us. I think I first saw my first laser die cutting unit with Comco, I think back in 20,000. There are still some applications where laser die cutting perhaps isn't what we need for certain types of labels. If it's leaving a color, if it's leaving a wide edge around a color, for example, but the speed has certainly come up, the reliability has come up, and you'll see multiple laser die cutting systems at the show. You'll also see examples of complete digitized finishing systems. So really kind of going from the pretty roll through all those digital embellishment processes through to the finished turreted product. To talk briefly about AI. So it's early days with AI in the label industry. One thing that CERM is showing, for example, is AI assisted scheduling. So if you think about the multiple routes now that a job can take through a plant, we've had for some time the ability to say, well, if this and if that and then this. So if these factors apply, then send a job through here. But the ability to start offering more creative suggestions and alternatives to make the whole process of the job workflow more efficient. I haven't seen this yet, so it'll be very interesting to take a look at what's happening at the show. And just finally, and Chelsea can talk a little bit more about this in a minute, but there's going to be on Wednesday, September the 11th, we're going to have a keynote from a world-leading authority in AI, artificial intelligence, looking at how AI has been used in other industries adjacent to the label industry, how it might be used in the label industry, and also really trying to identify what AI is. The difference between, say, machine learning and intelligence. We've had machine learning for some years, but where does the intelligence aspect of AI come in? So again, this is really going to be a great show to see how automation AI is moving forward in the label industry.
Yeah. Great, thanks, Andy. So those are some of the key technology trends. As you can see, it's going to be a really exciting show, a very busy show. We, for one, cannot wait to get on site. But I do want to just quickly mention a couple of the other opportunities for networking, for talking with your peers, and just kind of getting together as an industry, which we know we love to do in North America and really globally. So first is the award networking party on the first evening of the show. This takes place in that entertainment district in Rosemont, just steps away from the Donald E. Stevens Center. That event is going to recognize the Global Achievement Award winner, the Rising Star Converter of the Year, along with a Stan Avery Special Recognition Award. So this event is a really fun and great way to connect in the industry and people you haven't seen in a while. There's got food, there's band, lots of fun, lots of people will be there. And it's just, like I said, it's just steps away from the convention center. So that happens on the first evening of Label Expo at 5:30 to, I believe, 8. So lots of fun stuff planned there. Another really interesting one that happens during the show, but maybe in some sort of off hours, is a converter leadership lunch. So that happens on the first day of the show. That's going to feature one lunch, but also really specific and targeted networking opportunities, allow you to hear from your fellow label converters about things like mergers and acquisitions, succession planning, sustainability, hiring trends, automation, and more. So the event is going to feature some targeted networking with your peers, and then a lunch, and then hear from some leading label converting companies. So All for Labels, AWT, Labels and Packaging, NASCO, and Euresic Label are going to be discussing the latest trends and hot topics. So again, that happens the first day of the show during a special networking lunch. You don't want to miss that. And then, as Andy said, on automation and AI, that's going to be, I'm very excited about this one too. That's a woman called Katie King, and she's an AI expert and published author. I've seen her speak before. She's fabulous, very entertaining, and really offers some key takeaways about what is AI, what are kind of the trends in that, what are some of the decisions you have to make when you're looking at AI, both ethically and also how to implement it. Lots of really good key takeaways for you to take back to your business. And then also the ever popular Label Expo conference program is going to have topics like state of the industry, cannabis labeling, branding and design trends, really some great technical topics and high level topics there. So also, I have to point out where you can read Labels and Labeling. Of course, we publish every day at labelsandlabeling.com. But if you wanted, I can leave this slide up for a minute. If you want to scan any of these QR codes, starting with the first on the left is our weekend read, which publishes on Friday. It's a newsletter that showcases an individual enterprise reporting. So really those deep dive stories that Labels and Labeling is known for. And it really has a global perspective. So those are really interesting reads. You don't want to miss that. You can subscribe to that there. Our Event Insider is where you can learn all things Label Expo. You can follow along with our Drupa coverage. You can follow along with any of the open houses and things that we go to as editors. You can read in that Event Insider newsletter. And then, of course, registering and signing up for our weekly label news to stay on top of all the news that throughout the week. You can email us at editorial@labelsandlabeling.com, or like I said, read us at labelsandlabeling.com, or pick up the magazine. So thank you so much. And we're going to launch a quick poll for the people who are still on, as we're kind of interested to hear what technology are you most interested in seeing at Label Expo Americas 2024? Would that be conventional printing technology, digital printing technology, finishing and converting, label materials, or software? I don't know that I'll be able to see the results, so we might have to have our back end people maybe message me the results of that, but we'll give people a quick second to respond. And we can close the poll whenever. Thanks. Great. So once again, oh, I can see the results. The top answer was label materials. That's really interesting. So probably a little bit of sustainability, maybe some of those RFID discussions that Andy had, following by digital and conventional technology. No surprise there. Also lots of interest in finishing, converting, and software. So yeah, we got kind of a wide range here. So if we can close those poll results, excellent. So once again, I do want to thank our sponsor, Flint Group. You can see them at booth 6419. As I said, they're going to be showcasing their sustainably focused innovations and solutions designed to optimize operational efficiency and support packaging circularity. So thanks again to Flint Group. But really quickly before we head off, there's a couple questions. We don't have a ton of time, but the one at top of the hour that I will answer, we're getting a lot on whether this will be available as a recording. It is. This will be available as a recording at labelsandlabeling.com in the next couple days. If you missed something or if you want to report back to it, you can see that. But as we get to kind of organize on some of these questions, Andy, I'll send the first one your way. And it said, before this, you and I had kind of been talking about how Labelexpo is kind of a Drupa too. So I thought that was a really interesting insight. Kind of explain to the audience what you think that means.
Yeah, it's really a question of timing. Really, it's a question of the current sequence of Drupa and Labelexpo Americas basically means that Labelexpo Americas is the first graphic arts print show after Drupa. It's really kind of quite as simple as that, really. So what it means is that it gives North American converters who didn't get a chance to go to Drupa a chance to see what was launched there, firsthand. So this is really what I mean. So when the Drupa cycle coincides with Labelexpo North America, so if you look at equipment like the the Canon water-based press, if you look at several other kind of technologies which were first shown at Drupa, like the Omet and Duist hybrid press, there's this is the first time that North American converters are going to have a chance to see those machines, and not only label converters, but any other converters who come to the show. And we know, for example, that a lot of the wide web converters also come to Labelexpo to look at these kind of solutions. So yeah, that's really what I meant. It just coincides. So it's the first time that North American converters will get to see the equipment launched at Drupa. So you don't really need to go to Drupa if you're a label converter. You just need to go to Labelexpo Americas.
Yeah, so interesting. So a lot of the things that were launched at Drupa now will debut in North America. So that's pretty interesting. There are a couple questions here, Andy, about the water-based inkjet that you talked about from Canon. Are there any, I know that's a new launch, so I don't know if there's any installations or anything yet, but any kind of insight there about the reception of it and anything to highlight with that technology?
Yeah, I think it's interesting in the label space. So for example, Epson also showed a prototype water-based inkjet press at Drupa. It's not going to be at this show, it's still at the prototype stage, but Epson have had really a great deal of success with their L4000 series water-based press. And that's really been for kind of applications where UV might be more of an issue for the end user in terms of potential migration. So kind of indirect food contact type of applications, or where we're talking about maybe some farm applications where there's not kind of barrier. So if labeling pharmaceutical cartons, and as an example, that kind of so the real kind of areas where that's where it's been most successful, really in kind of food labeling type applications and in pharma type applications. So the challenge is to really get the speed up of those machines, and obviously we have to deal with the issues of drying. So the web path has to be designed to give time for the inks to dry. And if you look at the Epson, for example, if you look at the existing Epson press, it's printed on an XY frame. It's only about sort of 15 feet a minute. So it's a question of trying to get those speeds up. So that's really kind of what the Canon technology is looking to do. So it really means that you're printing the white at one end of it, you're kind of drying that, you're printing CMYK at the other end. So you need to kind of find ways of making this happen. So in general, I think you can say that the water-based inkjet has already proved by the success of the XY system from Epson that there is a market for it for sure in these kind of applications. On the flexible packaging side, I think we're going to see much more action on the water-based side, and I think we can see, in practice there, you got the at Drupa, but again in Labels and Labeling recently covered an article with the Fujifilm FP790. It's company Eco Flexibles in the UK, and they just ordered a second machine. So for flexible packaging, that technology is like to probably grow faster, I would say, probably than in the label space, where it's still mainly dominated by UV inkjet. But again, it would be very interesting to see the Canon machine at Labelexpo, to talk to the Canon guys about where they see this technology moving forward in the labels industry.
Yeah, very interesting. And I'm glad you brought up flexible packaging, because to me that seems like the real game changer for that technology to kind of disrupt that space that's kind of been dominated by one player for a while. So it's interesting. The other question, Andy, as we wrap up, probably one final one, but what future developments are you seeing on the flexo side? We talked about them getting wider. Was there anything that you're looking forward to seeing at Labelexpo on that?
Yeah, I think that, we spoken Chelsea about there's mid-web machines, that 26-inch machines. But if you also look at the more kind of traditional narrow web width, kind of 17-inch, 13-inch widths. I think of the thing, as we said earlier, the kind of integration of digital into those press chassis is going to be a real game changer, I think, in very many ways. The ability to take an older machine like the 2200, and actually make that into a fairly complex hybrid conveying line for specialist applications. So I'm certainly looking forward to seeing the progress that's been made in digital print bars, in putting 7-color engines on the flexo presses. But I think if you also widen it, if you look at what's happening, we talked about automation and about digital integration. So one issue at the moment is that it's difficult to integrate most flexo presses into an MIS system, because the operating system is a closed system. So we still see a lot of double entry happening, where the press operator has to re-enter the information onto the press console. So I'd like to see progress in, and we'll see at Labelexpo, is move towards open OS systems on flexo presses, so we can start to upload production information directly onto the press. I think what we will see also at Labelexpo is flexo presses reporting production data back to the cloud in real time, and how that's passed and moved onto handheld devices, so production personnel can keep track of machines. So I think we're going to very much kind of the integration of flexo into wider networks. And then probably thirdly, I think that we'll see more progress towards 7-color inking systems in flexo. So kind of extended color gamut systems. And again, it relies the whole workflow of the label converter has to change towards a far more standardized workflow in order to make that happen. But I think that you'll see demos at Labelexpo. I'm pretty sure that Bob's will be showing, and several others will be talking about the possibilities of, and some will be showing 7-color printing. But it means you're not having to wash down the print units between jobs. So you're using software to get close to Pantone colors, close enough to Pantone colors that you're not going to need spot colors in the press. And then this works backwards into the whole automation system, fast make ready, the ability to get that press up and running for repeat jobs. I mean, if you look at short run jobs in the industry, probably 65 to 70% of short run jobs are repeat work. So it's a question of getting that job back on the press, getting up to color quickly into sellable labels. When you start to integrate these automation technologies in flexo, automated pressure adjustment, etc., fast change sleeves, ECG systems, integration into digital networks, automated uploading of production data, you're really starting to see the whole transformation of the flexo process. So that's what I'm really going to be looking out for at Labelexpo.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Andy. And it's all of these things kind of combined, that it's helping that converter chase that efficiency that they're like constantly seeking and driving towards, and the efficiency, reducing the waste, all the things. It's all kind of tied together in a lot of ways, many of the topics that we talked about today. So, well, that's all the time we have for questions today. Really, thank you, Andy. I could listen to you talk all day. I appreciate your insights. Andy and I will both be at Labelexpo Americas this fall. And thank you again to Flint Group, and we will see you at Labelexpo.